Can you hear me now? Can you all hear me now? I'll see quite a few of you have been popping up. Just give me 1 second here and I'll try it again, okay? Right, guys, back online again. So, how are you guys doing? I hope that I'm not intruding into your Sunday afternoon. Like I was saying, I'm just sitting here at my hotel, waiting in between my sim sessions, and the hotel seems to have really good internet. So, I'll take this opportunity to do as many live streams as possible with you guys. Hey, Bernie, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. So anyway, guys, while I have you here online, I thought, I could just try to answer some of your questions, talk a little bit with you. Where are you guys from? Tell me. It's lovely to see so many people from all over the world coming in. And man, there's so much people here already. This is fantastic. Just give me 1 second there. And Damien, good to see you here, man, as well. I hope a lot of people will get to see you very soon. Yeah, the Sims are going very well, thank you. It's a little bit repetitive to do LPCs all the time, but I like it, so I'm not complaining. So Matthew from Czech Republic, and we have V1 Rotate from Canada, and we've got Nisetrat from Sweden, excellent, and Venimo from Mexico, great. So, guys, what would you like to talk about today? I haven't done much videos lately. Actually, I am doing loads of videos, but you can't see them because they have not been made official yet. Let's see, just tell me if there's anything else you want me to talk about. So, Jambo, good evening, Palma based. I'm hoping to start my type rating in September. However, I'm 19. Is this a good age to start or too young? Like when it comes to the age question, 19 is not too young. As long as you're old enough to be able to get employed by the airlines. Some airlines might have 20, some have 22, things like that. But most in Europe, at least, will be able to get you as soon as you have your licenses and you're above 18 years of age. It should be fine. So don't worry about that. What's better, traditional books or e-books when it comes to studying? Whatever rocks your boat, really. I personally, since I'm an old goat, I like my old type of books because I find them easier to read and easier to find information in. But if you find that e-books are working for you, then use them. It's so many good e-books out there nowadays. So by all means, use them. So Kai and Love, where are you currently? Are you busy at the moment? No, I'm not busy. That's why I'm here with you guys. I am in London, outside of Stansted Airport. I can actually hear the aircraft from where I'm sitting. And I have done one sim session today. Now I have rest until tomorrow morning, where I do another sim session, and then I go back to Spain again. More questions here. So Dylan, Makilhatton. Is it difficult to understand ATC with all the static, or does the quality of the headset prevent this? In the beginning, when you start, you're going to think that it's quite hard to understand ATC. The more you get used to it, the easier it will be. And that's partially because you start to be able to anticipate what air traffic control is going to tell you, which means that you can kind of, get a little bit ahead of the game, and when you are, it's going to be easy to understand them. The static is not a big problem, especially if you have a good headset. It actually sounds worse when you're listening to ATC transmissions on YouTube videos and stuff. In real life, it's not that bad. More. El Foran, Mr. Passport. So you guys are actually talking to your in between yourself. That's great. It makes me redundant here. How much does it cost for an ATPL? Well, I've done a few videos on this. If you look at my my license series, you'll see that the ATPL is the last the last license that you will get, you will start off with working towards your PPL if you're doing modular, or possibly CPL if you're going straight on an integrated course, and then you will read your ATPL subjects as part of your CPL course. You will get your instrument rating, your multi-engine rating, and your MCC. Your ATPL you can only lift after you have more than 1500 hours total, which means that what you're actually asking is how much it costs to get a CPL with frozen ATPL theory. And the cost for that varies a lot. The cheapest I've seen is around 35,000 euros for an integrated course, and then it goes all the way up to 120 and 130,000 euros if you go up to the most expensive one. So it's a huge range. Sometimes it's cheaper to go and do it in the United States. If you want to fly in Europe, though, you're going to have to go and convert your licenses from FAA to EASA, which will also cost a little bit of money. So take that into account. More questions. Sorry, guys, because I'm losing your... There we go. I'm losing all of your questions here. So, guys, there's so many questions here that I have to stop them in order to answer them. So the Nuno Marcelino, what were the reactions from your family when you told them that you were serious about becoming a pilot? Well, I have been very blessed to come from a family that has been extremely supportive. It was actually my parents who gave me my first flight lesson when I was 14 years old. My father had a private pilot license, and that's how I got into this. So when I told them that I wanted to be a pilot, they were only happy, and they've been supported me throughout. It's really, really important to get the support of your family, because not only from a financial point of view, but there's a lot of work involved in doing the studies, and the more help you get, the more support you get from home, the easier it is, both from your family, or if your family is not supporting you, your friends. So make sure that you surround yourself with people with good energy that helps you through it. Robbie McCune, did you do gliding before you became a pilot? No, actually, I didn't. I'm one of the few. Quite a few of my classmates did gliding before, because you can do gliding at a lower age. I didn't do gliding. I've actually done only maybe 1 or 2 glider flights in my life. It seems like a fantastic hobby, though. It really does. Ergin46, can you speak about the DLR interview? Actually, I'm not fully familiar with exactly what the DLR interview entails. I guess that it's what we used to refer to as the psychology interview. When it comes to this, I get a lot of questions about this, about how should I answer this question or that answer or that question. The thing with a psychology interview is that they will try to pinpoint your weak areas, and then they will drill into those weak areas. Okay, it doesn't matter how good you answer these questions. They will ask you what your weakness is, and when you tell them what your weakness is, they will drill into that, and you will feel like you're being attacked. And that is exactly what they're after. They want to pressure you to see how you handle under pressure. So make sure that you answer correctly, or answer honestly on the questions. And also, when you feel that they are attacking you, you just answer back in a nice, calm, cohesive way, so that they understand what you mean. So that don't let yourself get stressed. Just take a deep breath, relax, and explain to them what it is you mean, and what you want them to do. That's basically the best way of dealing with psychology interviews. I'm hoping actually to be able to interview an aviation psychology on the channel, at some point, because it would be really interesting to talk to them. When it comes to other DLR, like do the exams and stuff, I've been telling people all over, go in, Google DLR exams or pilot aptitude testing. You'll find loads of websites that gives you free tests. Do a couple of those just to get yourself acquainted on the process, what you can expect. It will make you feel more relaxed when you come to do the actual exams. More questions here. Have you ever flown in Northern Lights from Dimitri? Yeah, I have. Actually, I did a delivery flight from Seattle back into Europe. And when we flew over Greenland, we flew over the most fantastic Northern Lights. Um, Absolutely amazing. They are just as cool as you see them on pictures or on videos. It's fantastic. But me, of course, I come from up north in Sweden, and in up there you see northern lights. Maybe not every day, but at least a couple of times a year. So Luke Scott, what's better aircraft to do PPL in? Cessna 1557 or 172 or the Piper Cherokee? It does not matter. It doesn't. They're both really good training aircraft. The Cessna, you will have a little bit better visibility below you because of the overwing, the wings being set on top of you. The Piper, you have the wings below you. But when it comes to what type of aircraft you're going to be training on, as long as you're training on a safe aircraft type, it doesn't really matter. Okay, as long as they're well maintained, the the principles of flight and what you actually have to learn in order to get yourself a PPL, you'll be able to do pretty much any type of aircraft. Just make sure that the school has a good maintenance record and looks after their aircrafts. More questions. Finn Headley, do you use 100% thrust on takeoff? No, we very rarely use full thrust. We try to derate the aircraft as much as possible. So we do performance calculations for each takeoff. And if you have a really long takeoff stretch, if we have a really long runway, we will try to derate and use as little thrust as possible in order to be airborne with the safety margins that are needed. The reason is because of noise, and it's because it reduces the amount of wear and tear on the engines. It uses less fuel, it's more economical, so it's better from every kind of perspective. So that's why we don't use full thrust. The only times that we use full thrust is if we think that there's a lot of turbulence and that might be a potential of a wind shear. Obviously, if you think that there's a wind shear, we're not going to take off in the first place. But if there's a lot of turbulence around and there's a chance of it, then we will take some extra thrust to mitigate against that. More questions. Kevin O'Rourke. Kevin, you talk a lot about homosexuality and calling people fags and stuff. Don't do that. Like I want to try to help, and I want to try to explain things as good as possible. When it comes to sexual orientations of pilot, no one really cares. We don't ask ourselves whether or not someone is homosexual or heterosexual or queer or whatever. It has nothing to do with flying an aircraft. So, you know, basically it's completely asexual. That's why I don't really talk about religion. I don't talk about sexuality. I don't talk about gender. It's because it has nothing to do with this. We just try to be as professional as possible. Max White, on the same subject, can gays be pilots? Of course they can. Anyone. Anyone can become a pilot, no matter where you're from, no matter what skin tone you have, no matter if you are a man or a woman. So, don't worry about that. Okay, Hanok John, any opinions on G-Air? I'm not familiar with them, actually, unless that's a shortened name for something. So I don't have really anything to say about that. Matthew, can I become an airline pilot if I only have high school? In most cases, you actually are going to need at least you are going to need a high school degree, definitely. In a lot of cases, especially in the US, you will also need a college degree and possibly even a university degree. It's not mandatory everywhere. The way to find that out is to just look at the airline that you want to try to join, go into their web page, see what the requirements are on the recruitment page, and there you'll find it out. Okay, look through a few of them just to get an indication of what you need. And Danny Vasi, what do you think about cadet programs? I think realistically it's really good. Like the more responsibility the airlines takes in training the cadets from a very early stage, the better it is, because you will be more inclined, understand more about the airline that you're about to join. It'll be easier to adapt to standard operating procedures, things like that. So I think cadets programs generally are very, very good. Miguel Solans, hey man, good to see you here. Another one of my patrons, so very good to see you. Do you know of any cheaper school out there? Been looking in Portugal and France, my countries, but they ask for tons of money. The last I got was no Nortavia. Um, I'm a little bit reluctant in suggesting schools that I don't know anything about myself. I know that there are really cheap schools out there. Sometimes they're cheap for a reason. Sometimes they're cheap and still very good. There, I would, if you want to look at slightly more economical schools, you could probably go out and look in Poland, for example. I've heard a lot of good things about some of the Polish schools, but they still have a fairly economical price range. So look there. But once again, I'm not going to recommend any specific schools without actually having been there and interviewed them and seen what kind of schools or what kind of material they're using. Just make sure that if you find something that's really cheap, that you do thorough investigations of it, you go through it, you talk to previous students. That's really important. I keep saying that, guys, but the only real way that you will understand how good the school is by checking, have their students received any jobs after they graduated, and also what did they think, what did the students of that school think of the school? Did they have any doubts about it after they had done the training? So try to find previous students and talk to them. Also go to open days, talk to the instructors, look at the aircraft. All of this is essential before you start paying shitloads of money out to a school. You have to know what you're paying the money for. It's really, really important, and I cannot overemphasize that. McPlace, can I be a pilot and an actor at the same time? Yeah, sure, why not? You have a lot of spare time. You can do whatever you want in your spare time. One of the really good things with being a pilot is the fact that you don't have to bring your job home. Once you're done with your job, you can go and do whatever. I mean, there are plenty of pilots who have secondary jobs as well, or secondary things that they do on their spare time, so don't worry, you can do that. Ava Mendes, hey Ava, good to see you here. Have you flown the Pitts S2? No, I wish I would have tried it. I think I would probably hurl the Pitts. I haven't flown much aerobatics at all. Actually, I would love to do so. Shamas Manir, how did you start your career? What was your first step, and how did you manage paying for the courses? Well, I've noticed, I've talked about this in previous podcasts as well. I actually was one of the few ones that managed to get into to a government sponsored program. So the government of Sweden paid for my licenses. Thank you, Sweden. The only thing I paid for myself was my first type rating, which was about 30,000 euro, and I paid for that by a loan that my parents had to take out on the house. So that's the reality of things. I did my training when I was 17 until I was 20, and then I got my first job when I was 20. So I've been extremely lucky, which is probably why I am so positive. More questions. So, La Metro. How are diversion airports determined? Recently saw a Ryanair diverting all the way to Stuttgart from Memmingen because of fog, even though there was a near airport with okay weather. Yeah, so we get the flight plan. On the flight plan, we have a fuel alternate. Okay, so that's an alternate airport that the planning people have determined as being suitable for as an alternate. Okay, but then we have something called commercial alternates as well. Commercial alternates can be many different airports. We have to make sure that we have at least, if the destination weather is good, we also need to have an alternate that has even better weather. If those two things are good, then when we become airborne, then we come into something we call, well, basically we will become operational is the term that we use, which means that when you're operational, you can choose if you want to go to the fuel alternate, or if you choose to go to a different alternate, which might be your commercial alternate that suits the company better, which is still within the fuel range, still within the mandatory limits of fuel. So, for example, someone that is going to Memmingen and diverting to Stuttgart might be doing so because there are connecting flights that can be used. The company might be deeming it that's better to ferry the passengers from there to where they were going, or something like that. So it's very, very hard to sit here and guess why a specific airline chose a specific alternate. It might well be either weather related or commercially related, depending on what that airline chooses. Hanak John, did you train with CTC? No, I did not. I trained with an organization called Scandinavian Aviation Academy that was under Aviation College of Sweden back when I did it back in 98 to 2000. Feels like ancient history now. I'm not that old, am I? No, couldn't be. So, Snas McGuy, Peter, a quick question. How do I go about cash? Because I'm in the UK. In the UK, to become a pilot will cost £80,000, and I can only pay up to £40,000. Well, the fact that you can pay up to £40,000 puts you in a very good position. Like, you will have to play with what you've got. If you can't get into an integrated program, then you can go the modular way, which means that you can go do it significantly cheaper, but it's going to take a little bit more work from your part, where you might have to do a little bit more home study, for example, or find aviation schools that require you to pay a little bit less money. It takes a bit more research. That's why it's cheaper. Also, for £40,000, you can probably find a school, for example, in Poland or in Spain, which will do an integrated program for about those money. So start branching out a little bit, look a little bit outside of the UK, and you'll see that your money can take you a long way. How do you land in fog or in low visibility? Yeah, this is depending on what kind of equipment you have on your aircraft. So, for example, I'm flying the 737-800 that is certified to fly down to category 3 alpha, which means we can fly down to 50 feet over the runway and 200 meters of RVR, runway visual range, which is extremely low visibility conditions. We do that using the autopilot. The autopilot will actually fly the aircraft and land the aircraft. We just have to monitor the autopilot system and make sure that at 50 feet we actually do see enough runway to make sure that the aircraft is landing safely. And if you get my Mentor 360 application, you'll see that I have a Cat 3 approach to go around, the Cat 3 approach to landing there, just to show you exactly how we do. And I also have a briefing video connected to it that will explain exactly what we're doing. So if you want a good explanation to that, get the Mentor 360 app and it will explain it. And also, very soon there will be a new app coming out. And when I'm saying very soon, I'm talking weeks now. Maybe even next week, could be a week after that. I'm just making sure that the material on there is good enough for you to keep you guys happy. But there will be new stuff coming out. Right, more questions. Can you explain? Let's see, there we go. Can you explain a little bit Ryanair's recruitment approach to non-European pilots without type rating? Well, I don't talk about specific airlines. I never do. The reason for that is that, for example, my employer doesn't want me to specify who my employer is. And when it comes to specific airline recruitment processes, I can't really talk too much about that as well because I don't know that much. Ryanair's recruitment, as far as I know, are really are looking for people continuously now. They're in an extreme phase of expansion, so they will be looking for people from all over the planet. What they do need, though, however, is that you need to have an unrestricted right to live and work within the European Union, and you need to have licenses that can be converted into Irish licenses. So as long as you can do that, I think that they're open for people from pretty much anywhere. Michael David, how often are you at home with your family? Well, you know, right now is a bit of a special time for me. Right now I'm doing a lot of simulator duty. And when I do simulator duty, I have to unfortunately be away from my family. So I'm doing 5 days of working, 5 days at home. And during my 5 days, I'm sitting at a hotel, which is why I have time to talk to you guys. But during my 5 days, I'm home. Normally, however, I come home every night because normally I will be at my base, flying from my base in the morning and back home again at night, which means that I'm always sleeping at home in my own bed. So it's kind of like a 9 to 5 job. I'm actually always at home. But that might be different in other airlines. A lot of, especially long-haul airlines, you will be away from your family for quite a lot. And it's one of the downsides of being a pilot. Right, more questions here. Leonie Willer, do you have to speak the airline's first language to fly for them? For example, English for British Airways. In most of the cases, yes. Most of the cases, they will have language requirement. You will always have to be able to speak English, right? In any airline you go to, you will have to be able to speak at least level 4 English. But then on top of that, some airlines like Scandinavian Airlines System, for example, SAS, they want you to speak a Scandinavian language, so Norwegian, Danish, or Swedish. Um, English, you will always have to. Air France, I think you're gonna have to speak French. Iberia, I think you're gonna have to speak Spanish. So yeah, in most cases, you will have to speak the local language as well, which is why it's good to speak a lot of languages. Um, Andrew Prue, how do you accumulate flight hours after finishing aviation school to be a commercial pilot? Yeah, this is also something I get a lot of questions about. So, a little bit different, okay? In Europe, for example, you can actually start applying for some of the airlines even with as low as 200 hours just when you're out of flight school. If you're in America, you're going to need 1500 hours. With 1500 hours, obviously, you're going to need to find a way to get your flight hours. And most people do that by becoming a CFI, which is a certified flight instructor. So you work for a flight school, you fly with other students, teach other students, and by doing so, you accumulate a lot of hours. There are also ways like you can fly pull gliders up, you can fly parachuters, you can do fire surveillance. Most countries during the summer they do fire surveillance flights that you can do, maybe not being paid for it, but at least get the flight hours for free. But there's things like that. But most people would probably do it by becoming a flight instructor. CRM question: what if your captain screams at you and you're right? Although you're right, yeah. So this CRM is really important. You should never come across a captain who screams at you. All right, that captain has already lost the fight. I, in my entire career so far, have never screamed at a single person. I might have heightened my voice or looked at people a little bit more sternly when I think that something needs to be emphasized, but screaming should not occur. Aggression should never ever occur on the flight deck, and if it does, it will always break down the CRM. Now, what you need to do as a first officer, if someone is being an asshole to you, is you are still going to have to continue to be professional. Okay, you are going to have to keep emphasizing and asserting what you think is right, because if you don't, you will lose. There will be no reason for you to be there. Okay, so if you're flying with someone who is constantly abusing of you and screaming at you and calling you names and stuff, continue to be professional. Tell them what you think, even though you feel like you want to hit that person. Okay. But for the sake of the passengers behind you, for the sake of the airline, for the sake of yourself, continue to do your job, the job that you are being paid to do. Okay? Then, when you get down on the ground, you talk to the person. You tell, I do not appreciate this. And if it gets bad, you're going to have to go to your chief pilot or to your base captain or whatever it might be and tell them that, listen, this person, I do not want to fly with this person for these reasons. I think it's not safe. This, unfortunately, is what's going to happen. The best thing is always to wait until you're on the ground and speak to the person and say that I do not appreciate this. You were both professionals, we're both doing our jobs. Because in most cases, the people don't realize that they're being abusive. It's just a part of their kind of personality. And when someone actually tells them, it can get better. And if it doesn't, well, then you're going to have to step it one step up. And you tell them, I'm going to have to go to the chief pilot about this. Okay. So it's a very, very hard thing to do, but it's absolutely crucial that you don't sit back and put yourself in the shell and not speak up, because then things can start getting dangerous. Okay, and more. L4, do you need to be good at math? No, well, you reasonably good at math you need to be. Like, you don't need to be a math genius. I've told people that before. You don't need to be able to go into university mathematics, but you need to be able to do simple arithmetics and, Pythagoras, and you need to be able to do some trigonometry and stuff like that. So yeah, but all of this can be trained, guys. You don't have to be afraid of mathematics, because it's all a matter of just working through it. I was not very good at mathematics, but I worked my ass off. Like I really studied. My roommates that I flew with, because I went to a school where basically everyone had top grades. The first way of getting into that school was having the best possible grades, which meant that I did my schooling together with some people that were actually geniuses that never had to study. I had to study. So I was living together with two guys that were really really smart. They didn't need to study that much, but I needed to, and it helped me. I got where I am today because of hard work, and that's it. Um, there's quite a few foreign languages here, which unfortunately I cannot answer the question to. Do you calculate the fuel in metric or imperial? We calculate the fuel in metrics, in kilos, in liters. Okay. Um, Hani, Ismail, are there cadet programs for international students? Yeah, there are. All over the world there are cadet programs. You just have to find them. They might not be in your country, but look for them. They are. They do exist. Into flying. Oh, it's great to hear, man. Well, I really like you, all of you guys who are here interacting now. This makes my day. I was in a foul mood because I had a conversation with a friend of mine. We were discussing politics, and it wasn't very pretty. But this makes me happy. To be able to be here for you guys, answer your questions, see you interacting. It's fantastic. Um, so Andro Pro, how do you choose what type of aircraft you get a type rating for, and does the flight school price include the cost of getting a type rating? The flight school can include the type rating in the deal. That's going to be very very clearly stipulated when you pay for it. Um, I've talked about this. When it comes to type rating, you have to be very very careful because in most of the cases you might have to pay for type rating, but it should be part of your airline course. So you should have already been accepted into the airline before you start paying for type rating. Why is that? Well, that is because most of the more serious airlines out there will they will not accept you if you've taken your type rating on the side. They will not accept your type rating unless you have around 500 hours on type. If you have more than that, you might be able to get in as a direct entry first officer. But if you're just fresh out of flight school and you have a type rating, the airline will not accept that type rating because the insurance companies and the aviation authorities that govern those airlines do not approve it. They want, if you are going to be a low hour cadet, they want you to be trained with the type rating that that particular airline is giving. So you might have to redo the same type rating again. And this is why I would tell people to be a little bit careful before you buy a type rating. Make sure that if you do buy a type rating that it is connected to at least 500 hours of flight experience as well. I do not like pay-to-fly programs. I actually think it's something that shouldn't exist. So I would focus on getting yourself your licenses and then try to find an airline where you can get an employment and then possibly pay for your type rating a part of that. But don't buy one by yourself because you might end up regretting it. So Samir Rizwan, what age can you start with flying? This differs all over the world. I think the earliest is around 15 years to start your PPL. To get your PPL, I think you need to be at least 17, if not 18, to lift the license. So that's about it. I wouldn't start before 15 anyway. You can go and do some gliding. Gliding you can do actually earlier than that, but start earlier than that. It's going to be a waste of your money. You can start preparing, reading up, studying, all of that, but wait until you're a little bit older because you won't be able to get employed until you're 18 anyway. Mentor, if you're not very good with grades, can you still be a pilot? Yeah, I've said this, but you need to work on your grades. Because you might need them in order to apply for a flight school or for a university. B, because you need to understand the subjects that you're reading, because when it comes to the subjects that you're reading in aviation, you need to understand them in order to be a good pilot. It's as easy as that. So you might not need good grades per se to get the licenses, but you need the knowledge that those grades are indicating in order to be a good pilot. Sam Smith, what software do commercial airline pilots use during flight planning before flights to obtain weather forecast for the day? Also, will you have the opportunity to fly the Boeing 737 MAX in the future? Software, I'm not exactly too sure about what software, exact software our flight planning department is using. We are using a system called Lido, which is a Lufthansa generated flight planning program that takes out all of the weather and all of the flight planning for us. When it comes to flying the 737 MAX, I certainly hope so. You know, the MAX seems to be a fantastic aircraft. I would love to try to fly that. So yeah, maybe, maybe soon. Okay, more questions then. Split ATPL exams. Is it better to try all at one time or split them? Which option is preferred by airlines? Airlines don't generally care how you did your exams. They care about what results you got on your exams. So some airlines don't like doing that you have had done retests. Some airlines don't care at all as long as you've managed to get your licenses. So when it comes to that, do what you feel is best for you and give you the best possibility to be successful in your exams. That would be the best tip I can give you. Uh, so, LS Gaming, how many days a week do you fly out? Yeah, like I said before, normally when I'm flying from my base, the airline that I work from a system where you start your day at the base and you get back to the base. So you never do any out days, you never do any hotel stays. But I'm an examiner and an instructor, which means that I'm doing quite a lot of hotel stays at the moment. So right now I'm doing 5 days instructing and 5 days off. Vinny the Great. What's your opinion? What's your opinion on Airbus and their philosophy, black cockpit principle, and flight computers having authority over the pilot? I think that is a very interesting philosophy. I like the black cockpit. I like that it shouldn't be anything lit unless there's something that needs to be done. So I actually like that philosophy because it's very simple and easy to spot problems. When it comes to computers having the final say, that's not actually completely true. The way that I've understood that the Airbus works is that it will override you if you do stuff that you should not be doing at that particular point, like overbanking, for example, or you know, letting the aircraft go into a low speed condition. But you can actually go into alternate law and you can supersede the computer if needed. But the ways that the computer is there to stop you from doing something stupid is to protect you and the crew. So even though it can cause problems in some cases, I think that in the majority of cases it actually helps. So without having flown the Airbus, I'm talking about things that I don't know about now. I think that the philosophy is probably quite smart. If you have anxiety, so Dylan McElhatton, if you have anxiety, is it possible to get into this profession? It depends a little bit about what kind of anxiety you're talking about and what kind of psychological problems are behind it. You cannot be on medication to get your class one medical, and I believe you have to be off medication for quite a while before you can get your class one medical. But when it comes to these type of questions which are medically related, you need to speak to a aeronautical medical examiner. I will not be able to give you any good answers to that. Boris Kahabur, Captain, could you give some information about when the captain makes a mistake, which may be dangerous to safety? How would it be the FFO's reaction and behavior in terms of CRM? Yeah, you tell the captain. That's it. It doesn't get harder than that. Captain is about to make a mistake. You tell them, sorry, Captain, I believe that this is a mistake. Or, sorry, Captain, I think that we should do it this way. This is why. And you give a good explanation. You discuss it in between yourself. You have to speak up. Your job as a first officer when it comes to CRM is you have to be assertive. Like, you have to know what you're talking about. And you cannot be pointing at details. You have to choose your battles, as we say. But when you see something that you think has any impact on the safety of the flight, you have to speak up. It's as easy as that. Now, the captain might know something that you don't, and in that case, the captain should explain that to you. But you should, at any given moment, be happy about what's going on in the cockpit. That's really important. Jambor 7E said Romeo 1. How do you think how long do you think that pilots will be around for regarding full automation? Are we a dying breed? We will be along for a long time to come. I have made a podcast on this actually. First of all, there's a couple of things to think about. First of all, is regulation. In order for rules to exist where we will have completely pilotless aircraft, we will need to change every single rule that is in the aviation industry right now. Uh, to change rules in aviation industry normally takes a decade. So to change all of them will take a lot of time. So only that would be a hindrance in order to remove pilots completely. Then you have the factor of people actually being happy enough to fly without a pilot in the front. And that is also going to take a long time to get used to. And then you have to have the technology to actually be able to do it safely. And that technology does not exist yet. We have drones, that's true, but we don't have the kind of contingency that is needed in order to do that operation safely with people on board. So my best guess would be about 50 years. In 50 years there's going to be such a big difference in all type of technology that I can't say if pilots are going to be around or how the world will look in 50 years. But your career and my career, certainly I won't expect to see much changes at all actually, but that's just my opinion. I might be wrong. Okay, guys, so I've been doing this for 42 minutes now, which means that my throat is getting a little bit sore. I'll take a few more questions and then I think I'll call it a night. Andrew Pro, who logs your flight hours? Do you do it yourself? And so can people just make up things? I log my own flight hours. You have to be able to motivate those flight hours. And should the authorities ask you about something, you have to be able to go back and find, for example, in a logbook of an aircraft, the fact that you actually flew that aircraft on that day, and it has to match your logbook. So no, you cannot do, you cannot log it kind of false hours, and you should never do that. Okay, there's been instances where people have done that and it's been found out, and it's very 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 bad. Okay, so do not do that. You have to, this is a gentleman's world. Very rarely will you be challenged on your logbook, but when you do, you have to have done it in an honest way. Tayef Sikdar, what do you think about Donald Trump banning Muslims? Like I was saying, I had a discussion on politics before. It did not put me in a good mood. I think that what this world needs is more understanding, more love between each other, more general happiness, and we do not need to raise walls. We do not need to keep people out or in or away in any way. We need to look after the people that we have around us, and that's my view on things. I think that this world, when it comes to the politics at the moment, is very depressing. There's a lot of people spreading hatred where they should be spreading love, and this should be talking nicely to each other like we are now. You're asking me, I'm giving you information because I like to help people, and I like to spend my time doing this. I hope that more people will be able to do that rather than shutting people out or spreading hate around them. Okay, and I hope that makes my position clear on the matter. Okay, more questions. Andreas Svenssons, hey Petter, I love your channel and that you take your valuable time to inspire us aviation lovers to learn more about aviation and become pilots. Thanks. Those words are enough for me to keep me going. Really nice. I like guys, like I honestly think that I honestly enjoy sitting here talking with you, because I get the feeling of what your dreams are, what your thoughts are, and what you're scared of. And I'm hoping to be able to if I can just reduce the nervousness a little bit and explain some things, well then I've done enough, and I'm happy. Um, so with those words, I think I'm going to finish off today's live stream. When I'm here in this hotel, I can do live streams almost every day because the internet is so good. So I'm not going to do it every day, but I might do it more often when I'm here. I might not be able to tell you when I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it like a surprise pop up, just like today. But I hope you're here, and I hope you do ask more questions. And also, I hope that you will all download my new application, which will be very soon released. It's going to be free to download. There will be paid stuff inside because I have to pay for the simulator and stuff that I rent. But there will be free stuff as well, and there will be a chat function, so you will be able to chat both with each other and with me. There will be loads of stuff like that. So I really hope that when I release it, that you guys download it and that you give it a grading when it comes out on the App Store, so that more people find it as well. I will release it soon, but just, you know, keep looking for. I like when I do release it, please download it because I have put a lot of effort into this one. Right, guys, that's it for tonight. Have a fantastic evening and take care of each other out there. Be nice to people around you, and I'll see you next time. I'm also going to release a couple of new videos soon, you know, not only these live streams, but some actual videos. Have a fantastic evening, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.